Hello YouTube, this is Ben Yessel. It's kind of a sunny day out here. It's late April 22nd, 2018. Just kind of walking down near where I live. And thought I'd have a few thoughts for you guys out there. But I do apologize about the shaky camera. I don't have a tripod or anything like that. So, yeah, I had some things I was going to talk about, but, I don't know, I think it's, maybe just, one of the things that's probably, foremost in my mind right now is, and this kind of ties in a little bit with the scenery, well, I don't know, scenery and composition music. I have a student that is, just not working very hard. He's got a busy schedule at school and everything. I have a competition. This is a competition student, mind you. And I've helped him in so many areas already. He's just not. I don't see a whole lot of effort that he's putting into music composition lessons. So I haven't really got a lot of responses back to many of my videos. That's fine, but for any music composition teacher out there that wants to respond back, by all means, doesn't matter how experienced you are, it doesn't matter how severe you are in your comments. You could be extremely critical of me or my students, or you can say whatever you want to. Any feedback I would appreciate, anything at this point. A lot of composition teachers teach modern music, which is fine, but it's a different kind of it's just after a very different kind of thing, really, compared to tonal music. And so let's just get that aside and say, just realize that you're talking about two different kinds of things here. And yeah, I would like some feedback regarding how to help the student. He wants to write music based on his moods, which makes sense. So he's more interested in tonal music and dramatic music, that sort of thing, film music. He's not so interested in the avant-garde. As we just wrote a piece, he just finished a piece recently that's very dissonant, very harsh, and he didn't really like doing that at all. But he wanted to write something that was intense and kind of war-oriented. So a lot of young people are like this. A lot of teenagers are like this. A lot of people my age were like this. I myself am more like this. I just know how to write darker music, especially, if you're an adult and you have given some time to composition. Writing darker music isn't really that hard to do, but it just depends on the person. Some people hate doing it, or more chromatic or more dissonant music. Chromatic being also possibly brighter or colorful, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I mean, what do I do? How do I help him? I have something, I'm figuring a music theory test of sorts, might be, or based on, more on, not music, it's music theory-ish, but it's more a test oriented toward how, what is he really working hard at his composition skills right now? So it's his ear training, covering harmony, melody, rhythm, his ability to identify those different things, scales, intervals, harmonies, that sort of thing, and then rhythm, meter, as well as some orchestration questions and how well he can put a melody to a different harmonic progression, vice versa. How well can he harmonize different melodies, and how creative is he, and how solid are his progressions. And some of this is going to be a little bit subjective, but based on how he does, I'm going to go ahead and keep him as a student or discontinue him being a student. And I'm saying this for all the composers out there that teach composition. It's really hard to have students that are less than fully committed, because it itself is a creative process. There isn't as many right or wrong answers, and so it can be difficult, very, very difficult to assess if a student really is, working very hard. There's a lot of people in college that take avant-garde composition classes, and the professor's happy to have them because he's happy to have, I hate to say it this way, but he's happy to have the number of composers that he can have to keep things well with him and the dean, because you need to have a certain number of students in your studio. You have a certain number of students that so but there's a lot of composers that study avant-garde music in college that don't really go anywhere with it, or they don't use it very much. It's not a very worthwhile thing. So it just depends on the person, if they're going to be just writing avant-garde music and they're just going to be doing a certain thing where they're looking at getting a position with a symphony orchestra and being commissioned to write stuff, and they're going to be a professor and all that stuff, and that's okay. But most composers aren't like that. Most composers are writing popular music or jazz or tonal classical music or film music or video game music. Most aren't doing this avant-garde stuff. So it makes it all the more difficult to look, with anything else, in private instruction, if looking at music, piano teachers are often able to communicate with each other, even jazz to classical, very well, because it just involves practicing an instrument. There's a lot of things that are just pianistic about, and everybody has a common frame of reference here. What composers have to go back to are things like music theory and basic music theory skills a lot of times. And then what a person writes is kind of up to them. Anyway, it just makes it kind of for a different situation. I haven't really talked to a whole lot of other composers for a while. Professional level, higher level composers. But when I do, it's everybody's kind of in their own world. Not too many people are able to kind of jump ship to different genres. And hopefully that's one of the things that will make me more usable, employable in the future, because I've dabbled in the avant-garde. I am more of a tonal composer myself. I'm also very interested in film and video game music. I also do the classical route, and I can use listening in jazz if I need to, pop ballads or rock ballads. I can do anything, really. I can write frightening music. I can write very sweet music. I can write religious music, spiritual music. It doesn't matter what it is, I can write it. And a lot of it's because of just my background, what I know. But then, of course, if I had to specialize, it would be tonal and sweet and classical and happy and all that stuff. But getting back to my original thought here, again, is how do you go about motivating a less than motivated younger student or student in general? You have to go back to what they want, but you have to keep in mind what they want. But you also have to keep in mind what they need to learn in order to get to where they want to get to. And you have to ask yourself, how much do you know about what it takes to really get there? And I do. I know that if it's hard to say when someone's 14 or 15. It's easier when they're 18, 19 perhaps, or 20 in their 20s. But, his dad, obviously the parents don't want to pay for lessons if he's just going to treat this like something that's like, some passing fad or hobby. And I thought his interest in composition was a lot more intense, a lot more serious, even no matter how much money he makes in composition in the future. Anyway, so any feedback would be great. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks. Bye.